Powder Necklace. Has anyone read this? Okay, Ghanaian crowd over here. Go Ghana, go Ghana. All right, I've been reading this book, and do you ever read a book, sometimes you pick it up, and it's almost like the writer's got it in your head, and they are saying things that you would say if you had better punctuation and better vocabulary. This is this book. It is incredible. It is also the debut novel of our next artist. She's come a long, long way from Queens. Nana Ekua Brew-Hammond, come up here on the stage, thank you. Making her walk the long way just to get the full effects going up here. So, I was talking to Nana the other day, and I said, I want to make sure I get your name right. What would you like me to say, and how would you like me to pronounce your name? And you said what?
I said, growing up in America, I've been called everything from Natalie, and it happens so much more often than you would believe. Nyanya, Nene. I've heard it all, so honestly,
she said, call me whatever you want.
Honestly,
like,
and
what?
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, don't call me Natalie, but if I know that you're referring to me, it's fine. But it's the correct pronunciation is Nana.
Nana.
Yes.
Nana.
Nana.
I have to say that 3 times. All right. The most memorable review you've ever had?
Wow. I think the most memorable review was, I think it was from Publishers Weekly. And, they praised the book, and then towards the end they said, but beware the evangelical overtones or undertones. And I found that so funny because I said, well, then beware of Africa, because if anyone has been to Africa, like from the dollar tra-tra vans riding, everyone is proselytizing, God's will chop bar, thy will be done hair salon. So, I found that funny.
When did you realize that you were a really good writer? When did you realize, ooh, I'm kind of talented here?
Well, you know what? I've always loved to write, and I think I just think that I just kept at it, and I kept doing it, and so, I think practice makes perfect. Sorry for that trope, but yeah, you just keep doing it, and after a while you think, well, it's getting better. It's definitely better than it was. Mm-hmm. So
give us a little taster.
Okay, I'll read a little bit from Powder Necklace. And so this book is a fictionalized account of my experience attending secondary school in Ghana. And one of the sort of conceits in the book is that the girl, she understands the language Twi, but she pretends she doesn't understand it because it makes her more of a foreigner, and it releases her from having to do chores around the school and whatnot. And so she's been found out, and she's been punished. I studied Ivy and Hari as they got to work, loosening their belts and knotting them together to form a rope. Hari turned to me, your belt. I handed my belt over and watched them lengthen the rope before tying it to the bucket handle. I followed them to a hole hidden by a ring of weeds. Hari knelt so close that I got scared she would fall inside when she pushed the weeds aside and lowered the bucket. I heard the metal hit water and watched the muscles in her arms bulge as she pulled the bucket up. Ivy held the empty bucket down as Hari filled it with the murky yellow water she had just fetched. Hari fetched another bucket of water. Ivy opened the bag of dirty clothes Sister Penny had given us to wash. Lila, we are through washing your things, Hari told me, as Ivy shook out the prints, blouses, slips, and nighties, some of them with my name magic markered at the inside collars. Of course, I said, a little scared. As I watched them turn their knuckles and palms into washboards, scrubbing the fabric against itself in the sudsy water, I knew I couldn't do it. I stooped over one of the buckets and sprinkled some blue Omo grains inside. Ah, you'll finish the whole box of soap. Ivy slapped the box of detergent from my hand. She stood over me as I dropped one of my prints into the water and began to massage it, then swish it around the thick suds. Hari started to laugh. Is the dress your boyfriend? Look at the way you are caressing it. I ignored Hari, squeezed the dress free of water, and dumped it on the grass the way I saw Ivy do it. Ivy came over like this. Let me show you. I stepped aside, grateful that Ivy was a bruni for Skinner. Hari shook her head when she saw the relieved smirk on my face. No, Ivy, let her do it. Bet she doesn't know how. She's wasting time. Hari yanked my bucket from under Ivy's hand. No, let the brony learn. Ivy sighed. It's about to be lunchtime. Hari twisted her head firmly and pointed at the bucket. Lila, start washing. I thought I would explode from the humiliation of it. This morning, someone had been assigned to wash my things. Now I was a small girl washer. You think we don't know why you pretended not to understand Chi? Hari stood over me as I bent to wash. You don't want people to look at us the way they look, to look at you the way they look at us. Well, look what happened. Sister Penny found out I understand Chi. Now I have to wash my own clothes. And who should wash them for you, Brony? You think you're better than us, don't you? Because you were born in Britain. I didn't have to say yes because we all knew the answer. But for the first time I stood on the other nationals line at the airport, I wondered why I did think I was better than the Ghana-borns, and why most of them thought so as well. You're no better than us. You're just like us, Hari insisted, daring me to say the opposite. I nodded in agreement, but Ivy shook her head. No, she said, she's not like us. She's a brony. Thank you.
I don't believe in spoilers, but do you want to just say what a brony is?
Yes, so okay, a brony is the term for a foreigner. Literal translation is sort of English person, but anyone foreign or coming from abroad is given that name. And the irony is that, you know, this character is Ghanaian, but she's come from London and she's called a brony.
Sometimes when people are approaching African literature, they might be a little bit nervous about it. And you described this book in a wonderful way. You called it a gateway book to Africa.
Well, that's a bit, it's not, you know what I found is a lot of people tell me after they've read the book, a lot of people who haven't been to Ghana specifically, but to other parts of Africa have told me that what they really appreciate about the book is that it really feels like Ghana. Like when they go there, they're like, wow, I saw, you know, the God's Will chop bar. I saw Thy Will Be Done hair salon. I saw the trotras down the street. I saw, you know, I think the book does a really good job of just sort of introducing someone without the sort of heavy overtone of politics. It's definitely in there because it's part of life. But it's just a story about a girl who comes from London, though she's originally from Ghana, and is just trying to figure herself out. And she's immersed into the culture, and she leads the reader along with you.
What is it about Ghana that compels you to write about it? Do you feel comfortable being a Ghanaian diaspora writer?
You know, I was 12 when my parents sent me to school in Ghana, and I had such a sort of negative perception of Africa in general before I went. You know, growing up in the 80s, it was, you know, the Ethiopian famine was on heavy rotation on the news. It was the flies covering the bloated belly kids, and I really didn't want to be associated with being African, even though my parents told me that, you know, Ghana is not like that. So when I went to Ghana and saw for myself just how normal it was, and so how exciting it was to be where I was from, where my name wasn't Natalie or Nyanya or Nene, it was Nana, and it had a meaning. Like my name Nana Ekua means I was born on a Wednesday, and people knew that I was Fanti, and just all of that, having that context, you know, not being pretty for a dark-skinned girl, but just being, felt so good. And I knew that after that experience, I wanted to write a book like that for a young girl who might be from another culture, whether you're Caribbean, you know, from an African country, or, you know, any country that's not sort of the mainstream of where you're living, to let you know that, you know, the world is bigger than where you are at this moment in time. And, you know, just kind of to get that conversation going.
Do you feel there's more to be mined out of Ghana, or are you done? Are you like, tick, done that?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I definitely think there's so much more. As I mentioned, I think Powder Necklace is sort of the introduction. For me as a writer, it was sort of my first time writing about Ghana in this way and writing so personally, you know, fictionalized account of my own story. And my second book, which should be out soon, I can't wait to share the date when I know. It is sort of a look further back. It's set in Ghana 62 to 99, and we deal with, you know, the politics and all of that, and that's exciting too.
So if you grew up partly in the US, went to school in Ghana, are you having to do a lot of research to fill in some gaps?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that, I think, it's sort of part of my own journey. Like, you know, I was in Ghana. I was, you know, exposed to the fact that it was nothing like, you know, all of the negative perceptions you see. And so, you know, Powder Necklace is that story that really sort of just that heart open and that excitement. And then the next book is me sort of doing the investigation of, well, why did, you know, 3 million Ghanaians leave Ghana between 1966 and 2006? Why? You know, and that second book is sort of the product of that.
Where's home for you?
When I'm in New York, home is Ghana. When I'm in Ghana, home is New York. And I'm okay with that. I think when I was in Ghana, you know, especially when I went to promote Powder Necklace, people said to me, you're Bruni? You're Bruni. Why are you talking about this Ghana like you know Ghana? And I would fight that, and I would, you know, speak my broken tree, like, come on, guys, me Ghana ni. And now I'm okay with the fact that I'm between these two worlds, and I think it's an asset. And yeah, right? Hey. So.
Do you feel that you've got a lot of company as somebody from the diaspora? I read this book, and I was born in London. I am Nigerian. My name is I might as well just have Nigerian stamped on my head, but I come from South London. Not me, mate. Yeah. So I have this weirdness going on. Do you feel that you connect with other people from the diaspora in the same way?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think I connect with anyone who is from somewhere else or anyone who is interested in somewhere else, because I think, you know, it's not just about sort of sharing those two cultures, but it's just about curiosity, really. Because I think when you live in the West, if you live in, you know, London or New York, it's very easy to just think the world is Europe or England or America, but there's so much more going on, and anyone who has that curiosity is my people.
How much do Americans know about Ghana?
I mean, I think they know that what I hear that really annoys me is that it's stable. Ghana's doing really well. It's stable, right? You guys haven't had, you know, any political problems. You know, you can vote. And I find that so patronizing, because the bar is so low. I'm like, congratulations, you voted, you know, and when you didn't die for voting. So I mean, I think people know, you know, that about Ghana, and I think, you know, good on Ghana. It's really great that Ghana has a good reputation internationally. But I don't think a lot of people know, you know, the nitty-gritty about Ghana.
Are you using your art to teach people?
I try to. You know, I think, as I mentioned, I think Powder Necklace is an introduction. The second book is going to be sort of a deeper dive into some of the history that, you know, framed why we are where we are today. And I try to with just everything, like even the clothes that I wear. I'm really excited about just sort of like the loom work that we do. I was talking to someone about how, you know, when you think of luxury, it's usually what's coming out of Italy or France. But when you think about the fact that, you know, some of this loom work is generations of knowledge that's passed down to people, and it's handmade, and it's one of a kind, two of a kind if you're lucky, that's luxury. And I'm excited about all of that.
I wouldn't normally ask a woman about her clothes in an interview because I think it's irrelevant.
Okay.
Because the art's important.
Yes.
But you brought it up.
Yes.
And we're talking about an artistic context. I think it's perfectly reasonable to do that. On your website, I noticed that you're a bit of a fashion icon.
Well.
How did that happen? I mean, I'm not incredulous. I'm just curious.
You know what? Fashion icon. Wow, thank you. She said it, not me. I think I've always been really excited about fashion, and there's one character in Powder Necklace, Auntie Flora, that I had so much fun writing because I had an aunt growing up who was just so fabulous, just always. She never stepped out of her house without looking incredible. And I come from a family that really cares about, what we wear. So yeah, I think when I sort of really connected with how exciting like African fashion is, Ghanaian fashion for me specifically that I know of, I just started, every time I go to Ghana, I make new outfits and I cover Fashion Week, or I used to cover it more heavily. And so I would be out and about, and when the whole street style thing was a craze, I'd often get photographed. And, so that's, that was the exciting part, opening up the New York Times and seeing myself there, or, things like that.
You're really positive about the way you speak about Ghana. I'm curious if people back in Ghana are supportive of you, or are they jealous?
Ooh, I think people are super supportive.
Did I not make an announcement? Who is that phone? Give it to me now. Am I going to have to confiscate a phone in public? Do we not know how to make your phone vibrate? Do you need some assistance?
It was a good ringtone.
It was a good ringtone.
It got me going. I think...
I'm so sorry about that.
Totally fine.
Please continue.
I think that people in Ghana have been incredibly supportive of me. There's a group called the Writers Project of Ghana in particular. I went to promote the book when it first came out, and I launched it in Ghana, and they were incredibly supportive. They threw, a reception for me. They had me on the radio, etc. And I think everyone was just excited to see, a Ghanaian doing something out there and wanting to sort of collaborate with me, partner with me, and support me. Now, the other sort of side of your question is, I do speak very positively about Ghana, and I love Ghana to pieces. But I think that there are definitely challenges, and I'm not one of these people who thinks, Africa rising, Ghana's great, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think there's so many challenges that we face, and we need to sort of, in saying that, it's great, you also have to acknowledge that, the bar is low and we need to raise it.
I love that word challenges, because that's what I use when I don't want to say we have some really hot mess problems to sort out, right?
Yes.
Because you want to be positive even when you're saying negative things.
Yes.
So realistically, what are the challenges from your perspective?
Well, gosh, that's another panel.
That's
another discussion.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge question. I take it slightly back. One.
I think one that's really small, but or it's actually not small, but one particular thing is I don't know if anyone is aware of the doomsaw problem in Ghana. So it's the lights, the power situation. Basically, the electricity supply is very erratic. Yeah. What's happening now is they're on a load shedding program. So it's 12 hours of electricity, 24 hours without, 12 hours. I mean, and
do you get to choose which 12 hours?
No. If only.
12 hours in a row?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
And I think that what I found so interesting are the logistical things that are problematic about that, because it's like your productivity automatically is almost non-existent, because you have to cram everything you can do.
How do you do a day like that? So when do the 12 hours start? From 6 a.m. to midnight? What's
Ask ECG. I mean, maybe.
Whenever they feel like it?
Yeah, I mean, it can.
Wow.
So businesses, unless you have a generator, and even if you have a generator, I mean, you have to have a fuel budget, and if that, it's just really hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. So things like that, Wi-Fi. I was just in Ghana 2 weeks ago, and we have Vodafone. I hope, yes, Vodafone. And that someone stole the copper wire. I mean, and they tell you this you're like, why isn't my Wi-Fi? Well, someone stole the copper, so when we will fix it. And that's it. I mean, things like that are just so frustrating, and it makes me feel for people who have to live in that situation, because how can you stay productive?
See, this is why she said challenges, right? So you wouldn't terrify you all. Okay, what's the finale going to be?
The finale here.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Your finale.
My finale.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
so this is a selection from the anthology Africa 39, which you should all check out. It's a compilation of 39 different writers from the continent. So there's stories from Malawi, Equatorial Guinea, Ghana, etc. And I'm so excited to be a part of it. And my short story is an allegory. It's called Mama's Future. It's basically allegorizing Mama Africa and just her kind of, her children across the diaspora confronting her. And this is when she confronts, or when her African-American daughter confronts her. I never asked what happened when you left me. When you left me. The first time Tamisha had returned home, her mother had put it the same way, casting herself as some kind of jilted lover. Mama had also criticized her hair. Then it had been dreadlocked, and berated her name. What kind of name is Tamisha? You Black Americans and your Shaniqua, Shaquita, Sha. Mama was so focused on the Sha, she didn't hear the Temi. Temiladi, Ife Temi, Eyi Temi. She expressed zero desire to know or understand what had happened then, choosing instead to pick out the differences between them. Now, in what could be the last moments of Mama's life, Tamisha didn't want to dig up the bodies. She had written spirituals, poems, books, scripts, and essays about all she had been through. Mama could check her website for the details. But of course, Mama prodded. I didn't leave you, Mama. Tamisha heard the bully in her voice when she wanted to sound like the high street Mama respected so. Why at this stage of her life did Mama's acceptance still mean so much? I was plucked, Mama, like a gray hair, and I was raped. Passed from one man to another, from the center to the coast, from the ship to the other side. I was flogged and I was lynched. I was bred and I was brainwashed. I broke tools and fell sick, prayed for weevils and locusts to destroy their precious cash crops, and I started insurrections to survive. I founded advancement associations and advocacy groups. I joined fraternities and lodges. I sat in at lunch counters and marched up and down streets. I filed lawsuits and I wilded out. I rotted in prison for crimes I committed and offenses I was framed for. I went to war for my kidnappers and went to war on myself. Shot heroin, smoked crack, sniffed coke, numbed the pain with Mary Jane, ate and drank myself to diabetes, climbed corporate ladders and rose through union ranks. And each time I hit my head against their glass ceiling, suffering concussions with the contusion-marred egos to prove it. I led gangs and menaced streets. I minded my business and I was shot for standing my ground. I gave my life to Jesus, studied the Quran, recited mantras, practiced Baha'i, sacrificed to Yemaya, created my own holidays and traditions. I've had so many names, Mama. Nigger, Negra, colored, Negro, Black American, Afro-American, African-American, nigga. Now, the only one I answer to is survivor. Thank you.
Thanks.